So, just to learn a little bit about who is in the audience, who is here from some of the IT teams or cloud ops teams? So, show of hands, a bunch of you, okay. Anyone here from the Cloud Center of Excellence? I don't, yeah, I expected not many. And then, how about any app dev or DevOps teams here? A few, okay. All right, so let's dive in. And the reason I ask is because I wanted to understand the lay of the land a little bit before we dig in. So all of you are moving to cloud, of course. You got your varying degree of journey. But why, right? What is driving that cloud? And I tell you what we are hearing from our customers, for instance, is the first thing is that it's a lot about moving your internal employee-facing applications to the cloud. We felt actually our own ServiceNow IT moved a bunch of critical apps during COVID. They refactor, replatform the applications on the cloud. The secondly is this whole movement about generating new revenue from building new services, from ground up. And that's all based on all the cloud-native applications, right? Now, I remember one mortgage insurance company that told us that we want to improve the experience of our customers, making mortgage more accessible. So we're moving to AWS to make that experiences much better. Then one travel industry company out of Europe, they wanted to really improve the system performance for their airline providers. So they moved to the cloud so that they can be efficient and also save some money along the way. So what are some of the kind of the challenges, right? I know we're adopting cloud, but really when it comes to it, it's the people and process. That's what we're hearing a lot. People and process challenges are top of mind. AWS and other cloud providers can help you take care of some of the technology bottlenecks. But when it comes to really the process around change management, process around finding the right talent, those are not hard to do. Especially around if you want to remove your legacy infrastructure, legacy architecture to move to modernize them. It's really a big deal for a lot of customers. I remember one customer telling us that they're moving to AWS. They want to be all in infrastructure as code. They want to do policy as code. But the enterprise visibility, the governance is a big issue. They want to be somewhere in the middle before they really move to that left paradigm. So customers are having whole sorts of challenges around this process building. So how does ServiceNow help? So really it's three ways. If you start from the planning, it's a lot about how customers are moving to the cloud. They might be early into their journeys or might have moved to the cloud, but they really want to save some money along the way. The way they do it is they want to shut down applications that are not being used. A lot of times, customers move their on-prem applications to the cloud. They still have these apps running in the on-prem environments or the hybrid environments. ServiceNow can help you figure it out, that what kind of software and hardware is running in the back end, how do you recover those? Secondly, for a lot of this new center of excellence teams or cloud ops teams, they want to scale the cloud adoption for their developer services or line of business. But it's not hard to do. It's not easy to do because you can't scale the cloud requests that faster. Now you can do all the provisioning and automation in your AWS code pipelines or GitHub Actions. Typically that's how it's done. However, when it comes to providing visibility and requesting process, really doing the service management in the cloud, teams break down because they can't scale thousands of requests in a given time. So what we're doing is helping you bring this API-based visibility back to ServiceNow, but then you also discover those environments. You have visibility of all of those environments in a single platform. And then finally, number one thing we hear from the cloud operations team is operating those environments. So you can use AIOps-driven workflow for your hybrid environments, and if you are cloud native altogether, we have observability solution as well. Now let's dig deep a little bit. And the first thing that we are hearing from customers when it comes to planning is modernizing applications. But how do you do it? Really, it's a rationalization story. And I remember I told you about an airline provider cutting down costs around moving to cloud. They wanted to rationalize applications. All the tech debt they got, they wanted to reduce that. So the first thing is you get the inventory, like visibility of all the applications that need to move to cloud. You can also understand the risk of those applications moving to cloud. But if you move to cloud, you still need to shut down those applications. Typically, 90% of customers fail to do that. They're sitting down somewhere in a spreadsheet, somewhere's hard drive, but they never get shut down. Along with that, there's hardware, software supported, right? We can discover that hardware, software, and tell you what are those licenses out there up for reclamation. Or you can retire those software licenses altogether to recover some of that cost. Now, typically, customers would do that in different platforms, different tools. But the beauty of ServiceNow is we provide you all of that visibility in one platform. Secondly, we talked about scaling the services. Now, your developers are developing applications in their own tools. They don't want to slow down. And we don't want them to slow down. But there's a whole change management, service management processes along the way. There's a lot of friction. We help you automate that by bringing in catalog request process into ServiceNow. You just need to do an API integration to your favorite pipeline tools. But then on top of it, we can look at DevOps changes. And on top of it, we are also looking at tags by event-driven discovery to understand those applications and infrastructure built in. Now, again, in many of the tools, you got to do this in multiple different tools. But if you work with ServiceNow, a lot of our customers are doing it in one platform. They can still have all the freedom and autonomous in working with their pipeline tools and automation tools and their, the deployment tools. All their GitHub actions or repos, all of that information can be brought in. But what we're doing is giving enterprise-wide visibility and governance so that line of business, the IT, the cloud ops team, the center of excellence teams, they have all the information in their fingertips. And then they can track it and manage it along the way. And then finally, the number one thing we hear is operating those cloud environments. Now, think about that. If you're moving your homegrown or your internal-facing applications to the cloud, you're probably going to be running in a hybrid mode for a long time. We give you this AIOps workflow to understand the events, the metrics, the logs around that. In fact, our own ServiceNow ID team did that during COVID. They moved their whole SCP stack into the cloud. And they utilized a bunch of ServiceNow technology to understand how it's performing. Now, secondly, if you got cloud-native applications, you're running millions of events per second. We got light-step observability. You see a quick demo here. It's actually looking at your code. You're looking at your API transactions, running traces. So now you have this whole cloud-native, really full-on scale, millions of events per second environment running, but also you got the hybrid environment, the AIOps running to give you full visibility. So we got all these demos on our booth 2468. Please come and join us and see all the demos. But here's a wrap-up. Depending on wherever you are in your journey, you might be looking to do one or two or three different things, right? We are working with the customers to really understand the ROI plans. How can they reduce those ROI? They can realize where they need to cut, where they need to scale. And this all happens around application understanding, software and hardware understanding. Then secondly, you don't want to slow down. You don't want developers to slow down. You really want to unleash. The way you do it is you bring in more automation. And the automation is around requesting processes and visibility. And then finally, you're going to operate those environments with AIOps and observability and security as well. For instance, a lot of times we have seen customers will configure their S3 buckets, but they're left unencrypted. We got out-of-the-box checks that can let you understand those vulnerabilities and really remediate those in minutes. So those are some of the examples. I hope some of those resonate with you. If you have more questions, please come join us. We got a trivia challenge going on. I see that it's been doing great. The highest score is around 300. So come, try your luck, get some swag, and have some fun. Thank you, guys.